If you don't know your past, you don't know your future. Otto von Habsburg. Otto von Habsburg was referring to genealogy, tracing one's ancestry, but the saying is also quite relevant when applied to a country's history. Canadians have been very negligent of our country's history, allowing powerful forces to change our history, replacing those who should be in charge by those who don't deserve to be in charge.
Montreal's history is being rewritten. Dorchester Boulevard, named after an early British governor who persuaded London to facilitate the survival of the French language in conquered Quebec. The existence of a French Canada today owes much to Lord Dorchester's efforts. And in 1987, Montreal acknowledged this by changing the name of his street to Boulevard René Lévesque.
The French in Quebec have used leaders from that province to rewrite Canada's history so that their version of our past has been totally reversed to portray themselves as the victims, deserving of endless compensation and reparation and a remaking of their identity. Quebec is going to spare no expense in this effort to recreate themselves. And you can be sure that they won't lack imagination, either, to give themselves a superiority complex.
La promotion tous les jours. Le Québec est une province francophone et fière de l'être. Vive la langue française et vive le Québec en français! Using as much of the resources of the country as they can get away with. The rest, most of Canada in the meantime, seem quite willing to take the back seat and become content to hew the wood and draw the water to provide them with the wherewithal in order to fund their nation building. We have allowed the socialists and the progressives to persuade us that we don't need to teach our children the story of our glorious past, because they say that past is a story of colonialism. And that is a story full of shame. There is no glory in conquest, they say. Except in Canada, the French were also conquerors, taking by force of arms the territory occupied by the natives who themselves had moved in from foreign lands. The French just happened to be less successful as conquerors, and lost their occupied territory to the British, so we are just replacing an inferior group of conquerors with a superior group of conquerors. And the latter group is the one that led to the development of Canada as we know it today. We are one of the most successful countries in the world, and we should never have allowed ourselves and our history to be subjugated by this aggressive force that is nothing but a moribund culture. The recent policy of the PQ, to create a culture that can only be described as racist, is the culmination of at least half a century of Canada allowing the French zealots to push us out of the way. Using Trudeau's patrioted constitution, which contained the Official Languages Act, the Charter and the courts as weapons. When are we going to stand up? When are we going to get angry enough to push back? When are we going to find ways to make this more fair for Canada? The importance of our history and all its component parts is highlighted by Brian Lilly's interview with Gavin McInnes.
There is no mention of the conquest that I could find of Britain taking Quebec from France. Not in the Canadian Museum of Civilization.
I actually spoke to the director there in 2009, and I explained that we started the Hudson Bay Company and we started Medicare across the entire country as leaders, as architects, as designers of the whole country. We shaped the country, and he said, yes, that's true, but we can't be too arrogant about that, and we have to be inclusive, we have to be modest. What?
A Scot from Ottawa who complains that the Canadian Museum of Civilization has completely left out the part played by the Scots in the building of Canada. It is a hilarious interview, but we should really be angry that the federal government has seen fit to allow our real history to be displaced by a politically correct sensitivity towards Quebec and the French fact. Thank you for watching. A presentation by Kim McConnell, President of Canadians for Language Fairness.